show you how to start a forge fire for blacksmithing. And you use paper with a pot that has air coming up from the bottom. And that's the secret to a blacksmith fire, unlike a fire at a picnic or a fire in your chimney at home. The chimney has air going across the top of it that causes a suction up, whereas this has air going in the bottom, and that's what creates the 2,000 to 3,000 degrees that you need to start softening up iron to where you can shape it in the blacksmithing process. So this is about 4 to 6 sections of a newspaper, and you get that hot and you kind of get your chimney a little warm, and then you put that in the pot. Then you pull the coal over the top of that balled paper, again with the more air coming up from the bottom, and that will start the forge fire. And we'll leave that alone for a while, and it'll build up heat, just about 5 minutes. So I want to talk to you about the equipment that the blacksmith would use. These are the anvils. There are 2 of them in this shop. This is a 230-pound anvil, and this is about a 110-pound anvil here. This is English made. It's a Peter Wright, and this is an American-made anvil by Arm & Hammer out of Chicago. You use these as what they call fullers. They compress the metal. When you hit the metal, you have 2 sides. The hammer hit, and then the stationary anvil makes the other side of the hit. And you can shape different things by moving your metal across all of the different points on the anvil to shape things. This metal is hard now because it hasn't been fired. But all of these positions on the anvil, the horn and the faceplate and different things, cause your metal to shape. And that's what the blacksmith uses, along with the hammer. I mentioned the hammer earlier, but these are hammers for different purposes. This is a peen on the hammer that causes the hammer to make some sort of a shape that way. Then there's another peen on the hammer that's a rounded peen for that purpose, and they all do little different things to make your metals do what they want. Now that fire is going to pull that smoke out of here pretty quick, because now it's going up the chimney. Is put something in there in just a second, but I'll explain some of the parts of the anvil. This square in the anvil face is called a hardy hole, and it holds various types of other tools you can use, such as a round ball to shape a spoon. After it's hot, then you put that on the ball. This would have been flat, but when you put it on the ball and you peen around it, it'll make the spoon make it a ladle. There are other parts of the anvil. I had mentioned earlier that this would be the horn, this would be a faceplate, that's another faceplate, and these are the edges. Part of the edges are very sharp, part of them are rounded off for different things you would be doing with your steel. And the blacksmith was used, and his job was to create things out of metal, like the carpenter's job would have been to create things out of wood. And the metal is a carbon steel iron. That's this is a small piece here that I'm going to use as in a demonstration a little bit. But all of these items are made from the same sort of steel. This is not knife steel. It's not hard enough for knife steel, but it's the type of steel you would use for home accessories. Okay, we've shaped the fire the way we want it, and now we're going to draw out a piece of metal, this square piece of metal, and make a point out of it. And I'm eventually going to make a hook out of this. So we want to put that in our fire. And it'll take a few minutes for this to get hot enough to start drawing. And you'll notice that I'll be working with this fire all the time, getting it where I want it for the purpose that I intend to use it for the metal getting hot, for me to be able to shape this metal as we go down the road here. But right now this is getting hot. I'll pull this out and show you, when I say hot, there are colors that the blacksmith can see as to how hot this metal has become. When you start forging the metal, you want it to be yellowish orange, but it'll get to kind of a brownish color. You'll see that's not hot enough. That's a reddish orange. So we're going to get it to a yellowish orange, and that's going to be hot enough to start shaping. And this is a 2-pound hammer. Make sure my head's on real good. Now this is getting very, very hot. Now that's getting yellowish orange. I'm going to go just a little bit further with it. It's hot the way I want it. And I'm going to make a point out of this by raising the back end up and hitting with this part of my hammer, the side of my hammer, not the face. If you hit with the face, it's going to spread the metal all around. If you hit with the edge like this, it's going to make a point and you're going to see a point started. You have to be very accurate. You don't want to hit the face of your anvil with the hammer. So we've started a point, and that's the beginning of our forging process for this particular item I'm making, which is going to be a hook. So we need to reheat it again. Once it starts getting that brownish red again, you're wasting your time trying to hit it because you're not going to move the metal the way you want it. It has to be that orangish yellow, and it won't take long to get it back, because the metal's already hot. Then we'll start. We're drawing it now. And when I say drawing it, I mean we're lengthening it and making it thinner. It's going to be a lengthen and a thinning process is what I'm doing here with this metal. You can see I'm hitting not with the face of the hammer, but with that edge. Now we have this point made, and we're going to bend it over and make the little scroll. You want to keep everything nice and straight. Getting this a little hotter, I bent it over the side of the anvil. Now we're going to start bending the point down. You do that very carefully. Now I'm going to put this back in the fire and get it hot again. The main thing about blacksmithing is you want to keep everything square. When you hold your piece and you hit it, you want it square. You don't want it this way or that way. You want it at right angles to keep it all nice and shaped correctly. And then you straighten it out, because when you hit it, you're not going to hit it with the same force every time, and there'll be little squigglies in the metal. And as you before you get ready to put it back in the fire, you want to straighten all that out. Okay, now I've got it hot again, as you can see. We're going to continue making that little circle down there and rolling this back and making a very, very pretty point. And now I'm straightening everything out so it's all straight now. We're going to put another heat on it. We're going to quench, that's what it's called. Now that's going to be hard, and we're going to take this and again, we're going to straighten it all out. And we've got the beginnings of our hook. Now, this is going to be too long for what we are going to make it for, so we're going to have to cut this metal off. And that's where this, if you remember, I mentioned the hardy hole, and that's what holds these accessories. And this is a cutoff. And we're going to put this little cutoff in the hardy hole, and it will allow us to cut this metal off where we want it cut off. So I'm going to heat the metal about right there, and we're going to cut it off with that little accessory. So I'm going to put this back in the fire, push it back there where I can get it real hot at that area. And when we bring it out, we're going to quickly put it on this. If you've ever heard the term strike while the iron is hot, that is one of the necessities of doing the job correctly, is you can't fiddle around and not get this metal on something or in something or with something you want to go forward with your project. And in this case, we want that metal very hot when it hits this cutoff. And this is a very sharp piece of metal. And we'll show you how you can cut steel without using a saw. Okay, we have this metal that we're going to cut off hot enough now. So I'm going to quickly take it to our cutoff. You don't want to cut it all the way through, because you don't want your hammer to hit that. Then you can take it over here and bend it back and forth, and it'll fall off. Now we're going to pick it up with a special pair of tongs called the pickup tongs, which are like little tweezers. You can pick up hot metal. And we're going to lay that there, get it out of the way, and we're going to take this off. Put it down for safety's sake. Now this is misshapen because I've been hitting on it, so we're going to put it back in the fire and heat it up and get it real nice and straight and pretty again. So that's our next thing to do. So I put this back in the fire. We're going to straighten it out Then I have to make the little end on this part, so you can screw it or nail it to the wall or the post or whatever you want to use it for your hook. So we'll take it out and straighten it all up. Straighten it up from the side. So it's nice and square to your little end piece. So now that's nice and square to everything. And now we'll make our little top point that I was telling you about, that we can either screw it or nail it. So we're going to put this back in. You have to do another heat. Get this off of here so it doesn't burn that up. And it'll take a few seconds to do that. We're going to make a little shoulder near the end of this hook, which will give me the ability to make that little piece on the end I was telling you about, that you can finish off this hook with, to be able to put it on your wall or your post. And that puts a little neck on it, which you can see. Now I'm going to have to get a good grip on this. Straighten this up a little bit. And we're going to take it and start forming that little end piece. Now we're going to extend the area out there and make a shape. Okay. We'll do it again. Spreading it out a little more. And we're going to put a twist in this. And when we put a twist in it, we'll be using the vise, which I haven't said much about yet, but I will. Now I'm going to cool these thinner pieces off while I heat that center, because those thinner pieces could get so hot that they disappear. We're going to put this in the vise, and we're going to use a wrench, and we're going to twist it around, and we're going to make a twist in the middle. As you can see, there's no twist in the middle. Again, keeping that thin part from disappearing on us, because this heat will actually burn that metal up to where it will go away. It'll start sparking and then go away. Again, this is one of these strike while the iron is hot situations. We'll use a wooden mallet so we don't damage that twist hook, and straighten this out a little bit. Well, it's tough to hold with these. Heat it up and make it pretty. I'm going to show you now, you've seen the hook. Now we're going to show you how to take a piece of round and make it square. Now you've noticed all these tongs, these are called tongs, and they all have different purposes. To hold this round piece of metal, I'm going to use this shape and put that in there. Then I'm going to pinch them off with a little thing that I made that holds these reins. The arms of these tongs are called reins, and we're going to put this piece of metal on there to hold it real tight. It takes some hand strength to do this, and I play the guitar, so I have a little bit of finger strength and hand strength. There you go. So we'll get this in the fire and start heating it up. Okay, now we've gotten this metal hot enough to start squaring up. And we're going to square this up on the end. And hit it. Now I'm hitting it flat on the face. Instead of hitting it like this, I'm hitting it flat down like that. And I'll hit it a few times on this edge. And again, the anvil acts as what we call a fuller. The motion hitting it down on the piece here is the same as the flat part here as my hammer face. So these are the two, this and this. And I'm just turning it on the side, and I'm starting to square this up. You can start to see it to square. It's getting too cold for me to move it, but you can start to see this, instead of round, it's taking a square shape. Most of your items that you are making for your cabin or your home or your business or whatever you were doing in the old days or even in modern, you'll see it's mostly out of square metal or metal with edges on it, not round. There's very few round pieces that are laying here. Most everything is square. So if you can't get your square metal, you can always, your round metal, yeah, if you can't get your square metal, then you can always square up your rounded metal. That's about hot enough. We'll take it out of the fire, put it on the anvil, and start squaring it a little more. Again, keeping everything at a right angle, very straight. Hammer's coming right down. I'm not using the edge of the hammer, I'm using the flat face. The flat face of the hammer and the flat face of the top of the anvil is making this squared off. And again, that's called fullering. and a tub of water. And this is mild steel, and it's probably 2,000 degrees. You can hear it as it's cooling down. It doesn't take long. If you swirl it a little bit, it'll cool down even quicker to where you can touch it in just a few seconds after you do that. It's cool. And that was a piece of round steel that I squared off the end. So the fire pot with a little shovel, and you get in there and just dig it all out, and you push it off to the sides, because if you didn't, this would keep burning and it would burn that coal up, and the blacksmith would be running out of coal a lot quicker than he should be. So you just take all the coal and all the hot stuff out of the fire pot, you spread it out over the forge top, and that puts your fire out and doesn't waste any coal that was in your fire pot that you didn't use up. So that'll just cool down, and I'll use it the next time I fire up. Thank you.